the worst start under your watch, 1-6. You've been praising patience so far for this team. But after the first round, what's the biggest takeaways that you can get from this campaign so far?
Well, I'm not going to get into first round, second round. It's a season, okay? And the next game is the next game. That's the one that we're focused on. Obviously, our record right now is unprecedented, as you said, in our era. But it's just, it is what it is. There's no excuses for it. We can talk about being inexperienced and young and all of that, but they're not now. They've had a half a season to become seasoned and become more experienced. We've got to play better basketball. Tonight we started to hit shots, which we haven't done the entire first round, and that was great to see. But then our defense was probably the worst game that we've had this round. So, it's a simple formula. You got to put all the good stuff together with the other good stuff, and make the bad stuff a lot less. And we put I think our highest points total up on the board, but we also allowed in you a great second half, and that highlighted defensive deficiencies that haven't really been there in the first round. It's been more of our lack of shooting, lack of free throw shooting. So there's a lot of pieces that go into victories, and we're just not putting them together so far this year. And we just have to give every effort to avoiding the inconsistencies that we're a good defensive team one game and then the next, it's not. We're good free throw shooting one game, the next we're not. We hit some threes one game, the next we don't. And I think we're too much reactive to what our opposition brings to the game instead of having more consistent play that characterizes what kind of team we want to be. And until we do that, results are going to be hard to come by.
Coach, do you think that the age of your players is the reason why it's put together those pieces?
The temptation is to say yes, but the reality is no. There are a lot of young players playing well in the UAAP. There are some other young teams playing better than us. And even if we can say it's a contributing factor, there are many, many other factors. Maybe not many, but there's several other factors. We've shot the ball abysmally in the first round. Our free throw shooting has been embarrassing. And we work at it every day in practice. We work at our perimeter shooting. Our interior offense, as it was today, when you look at the points in the paint, is a real sign of weakness. Again, personnel has something to do with that, but also, not allowing our opposition to cover the perimeter with so much pressure and we can't hurt them inside. We've got to find ways. We've got to find players that are going to assume that responsibility and counter what the defenses are doing to take away whatever perceived strength that we have.
Coach, Jared Bahay had himself quite a personal run in the later part of that fourth quarter. Is there any part of you that wishes it came just a little bit earlier, just so you guys could have completed that comeback rally?
No, I'm glad he hit shots whenever they come, because we know the talent of the player, and it just hasn't been on show. I think Jared's been pressing. I think he's been trying too hard. He takes our lack of success personally. I think a lot of the players do. And it has continued to elevate the pressure on them. I'm super happy with the support that the Ateneo community continues to give. But our players realize that when they raise their fist for the song for Mary, they're representing the school. When our fans raise their fists, it's not for us, it's for the school. And we want to do that in victory. And when we have consistently not done that, it sort of puts a different psychology of pressure on an Ateneo team. And we do not want to hear the line, win or lose, it's the school we choose. We don't want to hear that line. We don't want people coming to us and saying that. We both want the pressure, but we want to handle the pressure better. And I think that as the season matures, that is the area where we have to mature. We have to handle the pressure of being Blue Eagles in a not great year, and we have to rise to the expectations of ourselves, of our community, and we have to rise to the level of the league and establish that we should be respected for the quality of play that we put on the court. So far, we haven't done that.
Coach, speaking of pressure, other than Jared, let's talk about the whole squad. Is it evident in the locker room that they're feeling that pressure?
I think that's a great question. It's one of those questions that you want to lie about when you answer it, which most coaches are really good at lying. Yeah, there's pressure. And whether you feel it in the locker room or you feel it on the practice court when you say, I want this 5 players out there on the court, and some of the players that aren't included in that 5, they're like, why am I not there? Those kinds of questions creeping into a team that is struggling to win create pressure. So, the maturity of the team is what will help alleviate that pressure. Losing doesn't help us mature easily. So it's hard, and you guys are witnessing a very interesting sporting dynamic, which I've lived through before, but these kids haven't. So this is a real challenge, and it's one that, we don't like being in the thick of, but it is what we have, and we're going to continue to try and find and accentuate the positives and try to improve on the negatives, and hope that process, and there's that word for you all, we hope that process will start yielding positive results. Yeah, Brenda.
Going to that same grain, you said, I know you hate comparisons.
Sure.
Every team is different from the others, but you being this grizzled veteran for the longest time, does this remind you of any struggles that you've had in the past, any teams that you had in the past, and any lessons that you're imparting to your players to pick from those experiences?
Yeah, I mean, the lessons are nonstop, and that's the byproduct of 43 years of coaching. Whether they're tuned in all the time, sometimes you talk too much, sometimes you just got to say, let's get to work. But of course, being a team with 1 win and a bunch of losses, I've been there before. The team that I coached in Greece, PAOK, the team that I coached in, the second team I coached in Turkey, Kepez, the team that I coached in China, all of those were struggling teams. All of those but they were professional teams. And it is different. The players both can release the feelings more easily, but they also tend to stop caring more quickly. Our players hold on to the feelings because they care so much. And, this is where all the coaches, we have to be mentors, we have to be friends, we have to be tough, we have to be demanding, we have to be all of those things. And in an amateur team, in an amateur environment, the feelings are more raw, so the pressure has more impact. And as I said, maturing through that process, you hope you can do it quickly. We need to do it more quickly, but it is a process, and you can't wave a magic wand and wish it to be a certain way. It takes a lot of work, and it takes some tough guys to be able to handle that. And, we're trying to help them be that.